Well, hello everyone. Tony here. Howdy do. Um, it's good to be back. Um, as I mentioned in the emails and the posts in the various groups, this is the new Expert Media Show. We've kind of gone through a name change with every single one. This is our volume 3, I guess you would call it. Since last year it was Expert Media Show 2020. I decided to change things up a little bit for the sake of reusability, if nothing else. Change things to Expert Media Webinars and go with a different color for a change. I've been doing a lot of blues and everything lately, so I figured, hey, why not? So, my goal, actually, before I get into my goal with these, let me do an official introduction, and I'm going to go full screen here. All right. So welcome everyone to Expert Media Webinars. This is your host and teacher, Tony Ladig. And tonight we're going to talk about updates that I've been making behind the scenes, some new courses that are coming out pretty much for the rest of the year. I have a basic plan for the rest of the year. We're going to get into some new publishing options. I hinted at this on last night's course training, if you were there, and of course, much more. Now, as I mentioned, of course, there's no charge for these. They're made publicly available. The branding is a little bit different than what I've used in the past. I just changed the name and the color scheme a little bit. From Expert Media Show to Expert Media Webinars, just to make it easier to rebrand if I ever want to use any of these trainings as bonuses or something like that. It just makes it easier to do so. And so that's kind of my thinking. I'm always thinking repurpose. How can I repurpose content? That's just good business. But anyway, there's a lot of cool things happening. Those of you who were on the final module for Illustrate Your Stories AI Edition, you may recall that ScreenFlow crashed on me about midway through or 2/3 of the way through, and it completely wiped out my recording. So the only recording that I have of Module 3 is the YouTube recording. So it's the exact reason why I run 2 recordings, because you just never know. And that's the first in quite a while anyway that ScreenFlow has crashed on me. So I'm running it tonight. Hopefully everything will go smoothly. We'll find out, I guess. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of updates that I've been doing behind the scenes. Some you can tell, some you may not be able to see, and I'm still working on more. And so let me, I don't know why this screen is all of a sudden scrambling like that too. That's new also. So I thought I would start off with some important updates. I've talked about some of these already, but just to have them recorded in this foundational kickoff for Expert Media Webinars. My goal, by the way, with these is to keep them under an hour. Ha ha. I'm going to try really hard, just because with the end of the year coming here, we're in the last quarter. I have a lot planned, and I'm going to be doing a lot of teaching every week. So I need to balance my time as effectively as possible. So first thing, I've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work on Expert Media Hub. Some of it is just simple adjustments and those kinds of things. Others are much needed changes, like updating the slider ads on the front page. Those are now different. The other ones were only there for, a year and a half when they should have been changed, months ago. I also created the page for Expert Media Webinars, which chances are likely you all visited there since you're here live. And the registration link that you see there is going to be the same every week. It's actually a redirect, so I will be updating that redirect weekly. For those of you who were on the weekly Real Fast VIP webinars, basically the same kind of deal, but the replays from the live trainings will also be on that same page. You might have seen the drop down menu thing at the bottom of the page. They'll just stack down from there as we continue onward. I have no end goal for expert media webinars. We'll be done when we're done. That's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, the first expert media show lasted 187 episodes, which is a couple years. Last year, I think we did 50 or 52. I don't remember. And I have no idea. I have no plan right now for this to end, but it'll end when it does. That's kind of the way I think about it. I also created an official support page. My support has been inefficient and a bit scattered, and that's largely my fault. And I've been moving in a different direction. Part of the problem was that the software that I've used for support, FuseDesk, which ties into Infusionsoft, is not user-friendly. Infusionsoft is not user-friendly. There's nothing user-friendly about any of that. And so it's been an ongoing constant problem for me to be able to easily interact. So plus I noticed that I was getting a lot of the same support questions over and over and over again. I just bought this, but I can't find it, so on and so forth. And so I created support videos that address most of the common issues, like how to get on the live webinars. There's a video for that now. How to log into your account and what to look for and all of those kinds of things. So if you go to expertmediahub.com/support, that is my new support page. If your questions aren't addressed on that page, then there is a support section on Expert Media Community that you can post publicly. If it's a public type of question, you can contact me privately through direct message, and all of that and how to do that is in the one video. So that, like, you know, if you made a purchase and used the wrong email or something like that, then I can respond quickly. I always pay attention to Expert Media Community. So guaranteed I will respond normally in under 12 hours. If it's during the day, almost immediately. I just don't respond in the middle of the night necessarily. And I have a lot of customers who live overseas and in the Far East and all of that. So sometimes I may respond at 3 or 4 in the morning, but don't expect that because I'm a very early riser. So all support not addressed by the videos will be handled on Expert Media Hub and nowhere else. And as I mentioned, some of that may happen in Expert Media Community, but if you write support@tonyladdie.com, you will not hear from me. I will not receive it. Okay, just to be clear. If you ask support questions in the Expert Media Group Facebook page, you may or may not hear from me right away. Okay, I'm trying to get away from Facebook, honestly. And so everything needs to happen on Expert Media Hub and an Expert Media Community. Those are properties that I control. Okay, I obviously don't have control over Facebook, which is good since they crashed out yesterday for 5 hours or so. You notice that Expert Media Community did not crash. So that's why I'm trying to centrally locate support in a way that makes it as easy as possible for you and as easy as possible for me to respond. Okay, so that's why I made that change. Took me a while to get my head around what was going to work best, but I think it's pretty well dialed in. Also, Nerd Unscripted, for those of you who enjoy that, returns at noon Eastern Time on November 2nd. That will also be weekly, also on Tuesdays, kind of like how it was last year. Okay. So, Nerd Unscripted at noon and then Excerpt Media webinars at 6 every Tuesday. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to be excuse me. I'm going to be sharing more from the Library Chronicles for those of you who have listened to any of last year's Nerd Unscripted. I kind of wrapped up last year with where I was at the time with the downloads, but starting in February of this year, I started getting a bunch of those again. And so we're going to explore a number of the topics that have come up from the insights from the Library Chronicles. I'm also thinking about inviting special guests in some cases to join us related to some of the Library Chronicles downloads so that we can talk about some of them. Two of the prominent themes that I've been getting information on this year so far have been the veil of reality and the messengers. And just to kind of explain what that is briefly. So the veil of reality is nothing more than, we look at the world around us and we see it for what it is. Like right here, I'm sitting at my desk, I'm staring at a computer, I have a microphone in front of me, lights above me, bottle of water, so on and so forth. And huge collection of crystals and stuff sitting next to me. But so that's what we normally see as reality. 5 physical senses, what we can see, touch, feel, so on and so forth. But there's actually a very thin veil that allows us to push past, that we can push past and tap into information that, the average end user doesn't have access to. And so I've been getting a lot of really cool insights regarding that and how to access that, which I guess technically the Library Chronicle downloads are a part of that. And then the other recurring theme has been regarding messengers. And a lot of it has had to do with animals, where I've had the most bizarre experiences of animals showing up at really odd times and locations and stuff. Not just like, I see deer when I go into the mountains, but it isn't kind of like, oh, well, you're in the mountains, of course you're going to see deer or turkeys or whatever. No, I've had a couple weeks where I haven't seen anything. And so it isn't a given that just because I'm in the mountains, I'm automatically going to see animals. But what's really interesting is that I'll get these downloads while I'm out about in the mountains and forest. And then like Kristen and I were up there several days ago driving along. We were having a conversation about some things. And I had been told that whenever I see animals, I'm seeing them because they're messengers and they're bringing messages. And, every animal has its own meaning, so on and so forth. So we're driving along and all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I saw this movement. I hit the brakes and I looked over and there's a freaking porcupine running into the woods. I've never seen a porcupine in Pennsylvania, not in South PA. I have up in Northern PA, but I've never seen one in my entire life in this area. So it was a bit of a surprise to say the least. And the same thing has happened to me, like these random animals where, I'll see a red fox just kind of standing up on a log, or otters and just really unusual birds or things that I've only ever seen once, and so we'll talk about that in the meetings and some of the other things that have shown up in some very unusual ways. Like, I'm asking these questions and I'm driving along and all of a sudden this bald eagle flies down over the Jeep right out from my hood and literally leads me down the road for over a quarter of a mile. Like, when do eagles do that shit? You know, I mean, that's the kind of weird stuff that's been happening this year. So, anyways, it's going to be fun to talk about it. Of course, I have it all written out. Usually, a lot of it I've written on my phone because, you know, I'm setting next to a stream up in the, you know, 3 or 4 miles into the mountains whenever I get a lot of these downloads. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Next, I'd like to talk about upcoming courses. I always get questions. So what are you teaching? Especially Ganti. Ganti, you're here tonight, so you get the lowdown tonight, buddy. But I understand that you want to know what's coming next because many of you really get excited about the courses, just like I do. I love teaching them. I mean, that last course that we just wrapped up last night, holy cow. I mean, it was so much fun. Although I gave my wife access to my my AI account that we were talking about there, and I think I created a monster. Now I have like 50 steampunk images in my account. But anyway, so I put together a list. I have 8 more courses planned for the remainder of the year. Some of them will be taught live. Some of them will be pre-recorded. And partly because there's 12 weeks, I think, 10 or 12 weeks left for the rest of the year. And I just don't physically have that many days that I can teach everything live. Why 8 more? Simply because at the end of last year, I made an offer for people to get access to all my courses for this year. And quite a number of you took me up on that offer. And on that sales page, I said that there would be at least 26 courses in 2021. I've taught 18 so far. So that's where that number is coming from. And I should be able to hit it. I don't think it'll be a problem. But some pretty cool things. Of course, this list is subject to change based on new discoveries or ideas, and chances are highly likely that it will change just because it's me. That's how I am. Suzanne, whenever you don't need to keep asking me that question, okay? Whenever that story gets updated, which with the new software that we're experimenting with, that I think is going to help. And I'm using 3D together with it because all my other tests I wasn't happy with. But you'll be the first to know when it's done. So you don't need to keep asking me. I don't need an accountability partner. Okay. All right. So this is not necessarily in release order. Okay. This list of courses that I'm about to give you, but the topics are kind of related in a lot of ways. So first up, hardcover publishing secrets. That is the next course. That starts next Monday. I'm going to talk more about that a little later. And then last night after the training, I asked for feedback regarding if people wanted to learn more advanced strategies and stuff related to AI art, and it was very overwhelming in the response. So I am going to do an advanced AI art creation. That will be number 2. That much I can guarantee you. It won't be on Mondays. It may end up being on Wednesdays. I'm not quite sure yet. The first couple courses here are in order. Okay. So the next one, I've had a lot of requests this year to teach on NFT. And so your wish is my command. I will be teaching on NFT, probably following the hardcover publishing secrets course. So it'll likely be on Mondays. That's what I'm thinking right now. I just needed to get to a certain point in time with what I'm doing in that field before I felt comfortable teaching on it. So we're going to get into the basics in the first course. There's going to be 2 NFT courses, but the first one is the basics. So just to make it as easy as possible for everybody to get in and experience this crazy trend that's just exploding right now. And of course, what we're learning with the art creation and the AI and all of that, it all fits in perfect. Another course, which I really, really want to teach this year, so I think it's probably going to happen, is public domain reinvention hacks. And basically what my plan is for this course is to pick 3 different types of public domain content and then do a complete walkthrough, step-by-step how-to turn that public domain content into a sellable product. So literally reinvent that content, hence the name. So that's the plan, is to do that within the context of the hacks courses. And then NFT next level strategy. So basically, we're going to pick up where we leave off with the basics and get into some of the higher end strategies. And we're going to talk about all the different platforms. There's a lot of them that you can actually post and sell your NFTs on. Thank you, Chris. Non-fungible tokens is what NFT stands for. Basically, think about NFT as a way of giving digital art a let's see, what's the best way of explaining this? So, like with an original painting, like you have the artist and they paint it and they sign it at the end. It makes it very unique. There's only one original. You can make reproductions, so on and so forth. But as you know, with digital art, that's not really possible because, like a JPEG, for instance, you can download it and copy it and send it to 1 million people if you wanted to, right? So NFT is a technology that allows you to create unique digital art in a way that you can limit quantity, so that there may only be 1 or maybe only 10 that can be sold or whatever. And that's why it's so powerful. For the first time, digital art can literally be defined as an original single copy. And there's a lot more to it than that, but it's one of the reasons why it's so powerful. Yeah, exactly. It shows authentication and proof of ownership, which has been really challenging to do with digital art up until now. So that's why it's so powerful. And I mean, I'm getting called by friends like Daniel Hall and all different ones, Jay Boyer, different ones like that. And are like, dude, are you teaching NFT yet? Because I want to get in on it, and you must teach it. You must do this because of the art that you're creating. I mean, it's just kind of getting old, And so I throw up my hands in exasperation and said, fine, okay, we're going to do this. And actually, I've wanted to for quite a while. So also, I have an AI audio profits course planned. And one of the cool things about this, there's going to be 3 modules in most of these, I think. One of the cool things about the AI audio that I've seen and been experimenting with, there's some amazing stuff that you can do with AI audio, artificial intelligence. So the 3 modules, we're going to take a look at music. There's some amazing music generators that are out now that are AI based. I taught them one a year or so ago, and it's still valid. It's still a really great one. Ava, it's called. But there are more, and they're freaking incredible. I've been using them to produce like metaphysical chill music and stuff, but there's other things you can do. Also, a lot of really great free and low cost, and in some cases a little bit not expensive, but cost of text to speech audio. And I don't mean the stuff that people are selling on JVZoo. I'm talking about legitimate companies that are making some amazing technology like Amazon, that sounds human-like. I mean, you feed it a text file and it reads it off. You can pick your voice and it literally sounds human-like. I mean, just amazing. And then the third area that we're going to look at in this course is sounds. Believe it or not, there are some really cool AI audio generators that allow you to generate all kinds of sounds. So instead of like having to go to a place like Epidemic Sound, which we actually use a lot, like wind blowing or streams and lightning and all of that kind of stuff, that you could go out and record yourself for sure, or you could download it from stock sites. The AI generates it. Like, you just literally pick the kinds of sound effects that you want and it generates it automatically. Pretty cool. So we're going to get into that. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, you're right, Lori. That's one of the beautiful things about NFTs as well. You get royalties off of the sales when they resell. I'm not going to promise that you'll learn how to make millions, but frankly, there is that possibility. I've been tracking sales on a couple of sites, and it just blows me away at some of the numbers. I mean, insane numbers. So anyway, I digress. Also, art print mastery. So, we've spent a lot of time this year and part of last year focusing on art generation, whether it's through AI generation, which has been a lot of our focus, but also, photography and public domain and all that kind of stuff. And I've talked at different times about products that you can develop using art, but I've not really drilled down into art prints, which is really making a massive surge right now. It's definitely a huge trend. Part of it is because of some of the print on demand technologies that allow you to plug in Etsy and Shopify and generate these things. But there's a lot of other ways of creating and selling art prints as well. I've had a lot of success personally lately with them as well. Mostly with art that's been AI generated, but also some of my photography and everything. So we'll get into a lot of details with that. And last but not least, this will probably be the last one of the year, I'm thinking, is Income Reboot, the Quick Cash Edition. So all of us at different times can use a little extra cash, right? So what I'm going to share, and I may even have Kristen join me on this one, because I think the last Income Reboot she joined me, is the methods that we've had the most success with generating quick cash. And I'm a fan of quick cash. I mean, I love it. And there's a lot of things that you can do that are very effective that can enable you to get some. And I'm not making any income promises or anything like that. I mean, you may only need a couple $100. Maybe you need a couple thousand to get a car fixed or whatever. But I'm going to share the things that have worked best for us. If you haven't figured it out yet, Kristen and I both, and me especially, do a lot of testing of everything. You don't know until you know. I mean, that's kind of my philosophy. And so I spend a lot of time trying things, see what works, see what doesn't work. And then the stuff that works or works really well, I come back and tell all you guys and gals. All right. So let's shift gears a little bit. That's kind of all of the upcoming news. I wanted to share some of that here just to kind of get it out of the way and to make sure that it was publicly explained, if you will. So I don't know how much you all follow publishing news and changes and stuff like that. Kristen and I track that stuff constantly just because we've both owned our own publishing companies, and I've been involved in publishing in one form or another for longer than I care to admit. since the mid 80s, I guess, because I used to manage a printing company and we published there. But anyway, so I'm constantly tracking, constantly paying attention just to see what's happening. And surprisingly enough, some cool new things have happened. Probably the biggest news, and I alluded to this last night a little bit, is that Amazon's Kdb Print just added a new publishing option, hardcover books. I never thought I would see this day come, because our options have been limited. And so the fact that they've added this into the mix and figured it out, in addition to what they already offer with their paperbacks, is a big deal. And currently they offer 5 sizes: 5.5, 8.5, 6 by 9, 6.14 by 9.21, which is a standard European size, 7 by 10, and 8.25 by 11. This may change, but right now it's what they offer. And I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but when it comes to trim sizes, chances are likely that the warehouses, or wherever they have their knives, their 3-blade knives, whenever they cut these things. So they meaning Kdb Print, run all of these sizes on the same size piece of paper. Okay, so in other words, the price, whether you get 5.5, 8.5, or 8.25 by 11, the price per book is going to be the same, because they just run it all on the same size sheet of paper and then trim it to whatever the final size was set by the author. Okay, so it's not like, oh, okay, so this book is 3.5, 5.5, so we need this size paper, but the next one is 7 by 10, so we need this different size. No, they standardized everything. So they're running the exact same size sheet of paper regardless, and then just trimming it down and throwing off the excess, regardless of whatever size you pick. They've been doing that with their paperback books almost from day one. And so they're doing the same thing with hardcover books, which it's not really surprising. It's actually much more efficient, to the point where I think Ingram Spark may have started doing the same thing with Lightning Source. So we'll see. We'll talk more about that another time. But 5 sizes right now. Page counts 75 to 550, which that'd be a big ass book. 550 pages. Can you imagine? This I found a little bit disappointing, only because your typical kids book is 32 to 36 pages. So it kind of eliminates that possibility. There are other options, of course. And so your minimum page count is going to be 75, which is really 76, because you always have to have even number page counts. So I don't know why they put 75 even in there, because their end papers alone will add to the count. But so that's kind of where you're going to be at. With the interiors, you can do black ink on 55-pound stock, which is pretty much the standard that they use for their paperbacks, on cream and white. And then for the interior, they also offer a premium color on 60-pound white paper. Now, paperbacks, they have a standard color, which frankly I think looks like crap. So this new premium color thing, it's probably the same ink. It's just a heavier weight opaque paper. So 60-pound opaque. It's still going to be a little bit thinner than what you would get from like Lulu or even Ingram Spark. But the fact that they're going with a heavier weight paper is a big deal. And they may get those page counts and everything. I mean, this is brand new. It's only been out for what, a month and 6 weeks, something like that. So it's still kind of new. They'll have to get it dialed in sooner or later. The covers, you can get gloss or matte finish. And as I mentioned, the page counts are higher than a typical children's book. That may change. We'll see, because that's a huge market. No, the information that I'm sharing here, Ganti, I literally copied and pasted off of their website. Literally copy paste. So it's 75, which I think is a mistake. Probably should be 76. All right. So the pricing is kind of what caught my attention. So here's how it works. Black ink interior with 75 to 108 pages. It's a flat fee of $6.80 per book. Okay. And it doesn't matter what the page count is. It could be 84. It could be 96. It could be a full 108. It's still $6.80. Doesn't matter. And then with larger page counts, 110 to 550, it's $5.50 per book plus 0.012 per page. And then premium color is 75 to 550 pages, is also $5.50 per book plus 7 cents per page. Okay, so here's how it kind of works out. Let's say we have a 96-page book with black ink. Okay, so your printing cost is going to be $6.80. If you have a 176-page book with black ink, and you do the math, you take 176 times 0.012 and then add that with 550, and that's where the 761 comes from. So hardcover book with black ink, very, very reasonable. Now, let's get into the color. So 96 page with premium color. So 96 pages times 0.07 plus 550, it's going to land you at $12.22. Okay. And then for a 176-page book with the premium color, you're going to come in at $17.82. That is printing cost. Okay. That's actual printing cost. The per page starts Ganti right here after 108 pages. Okay. So 75 to 108 pages with black ink, it's a flat fee, $6.80. 110 to 550 pages, it's $5.50 per book plus 0.012 per page. Okay. And then the color, $5.50 plus 0.07 per page. So let's say, let me get out my handy dandy phone. So let's say that you want to produce a 200-page full color book. Okay. So just to pick a very, let's make it 224. Let's go with a really random number. So 224-page book. You go crazy generating AI art, and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all these hundreds of images? Hey, I know, I'm going to produce a book. Said Tony just the other day. So you have 224 pages, which from a commercial printing perspective, that is an even signature count, FYI. So you'll take 224 times, you can't see me doing this, times 0.07 equals $15.68 plus 550 equals $21.18. That's your actual cost. Now, as an author, you have the ability to buy copies of your book at cost, printing cost. you can buy up to 999 copies. I don't know why they made it that number. To me, it just seems silly, um, but still, almost 1,000 copies you can buy at actual printing cost. So, I mean, I'm sure that Amazon's still making some cash in there, but according to them, no. Now, here's where it gets a little dicey, okay, from my perspective. And you're right, Vicky, they're reasonable prices. They're slightly higher than Ingram Spark, but not by much. And of course, Ingram Spark has the per book setup fee. So that kind of pushes it over the edge from a pricing perspective. So from that point of view, Kdb Print hard covers are cheaper. So one of the big factors that plays into you selling your book is setting a minimum list price, right? You have to have it. And then based on what that list price is, that determines what you make from a royalty perspective. And that's what we're interested in. I mean, it's awesome that people buy our book and so on and so forth. But what am I going to make from those sales? Well, we get paid 60%, but it's 60% from the list price. So the way it works is you have the cost of the printing divided by the royalty rate, which is 60%. And that tells you what the absolute minimum list price needs to be for your book. November 6th, Suzanne, it's the beginning of November is when Ingram Spark is raising their prices. They're raising them by 6%. So it hasn't happened yet. In other words, now's your time to publish to Ingram Spark real quick before the end of the month. I guess they're celebrating the, election day by raising their prices. All right, so here's how it works. We have our 176-page color book that we had on the previous screen as an example, and the printing cost that we had calculated was $17.82, right? So if we divide that by 60%, which is 0.6, that equals $29.70. So that book, when we list it on Amazon, has to have a list price of at least $29.70. Now, the object of the game here is to not pick that number, because if we do, we will make zero royalty. In other words, if we sold 1,000 books with that list price, we're not going to make any money. I mean, we'll sell 1,000 books. Amazon will make money, but we won't. Okay. So once we've established what the minimum list price is, then we can add an additional amount to create the list price, which will give us a buffer to actually make royalty. So they've actually created this nifty printing cost and royalty calculator. I'm pretty impressed with Kdb Print, because it used to be, they had a lot of these different calculators that you could use, and you download them and they're like Excel spreadsheets, kind of annoying. But now they've actually started building all of these into their website, which is kind of impressive. And if we go there, let's see if we can get it to go to that. It went to the wrong browser. There we are. All right. So I have multiple browsers open. That's the problem. All right. So here we are. This is the royalty calculator and printing costs. So let's say we want to do a hardcover book, and we want to go with the premium color interior. We have to with hardcover. And our page count is going to be 176. We're going to use Amazon as the marketplace. And so remember, I said that $29.70, it has to be at least that. So let's say that we set our price at $36.95 as suggested list price. Okay, because it's a really awesome book. So $36.95, and then we hit calculate. So we would make an estimated royalty of $4.35 per sale. So it shows you here the minimum list price, $29.70, which is what we had on the other slide, and the actual printing cost, which is $17.82. Okay, and so our royalty that we would make is $4.35. Now this is an estimate. Whenever you actually set your book up in Kdb Print, it will tell you the actual accurate royalty, but chances are very likely that it's going to be very close to this. Okay, so like using the 224 page book that we were talking about, and I'm just doing full color. Obviously, if we do paper or black ink, the cost per book is going to be significantly less, and we'll do that in a minute. So let's say for 224, I'm going to do $39.95. That may not be enough, but we'll find out. It is. So the minimum list price for a 224 page full color book is $35.30. The printing cost is $21.18. So we would make $2.79. That isn't a lot, you know. I mean, it's like I went through all the work to create 224 pages of amazing content that blows people away and makes them shout for joy, and I make a lousy $2.79. So there's a little bit of balancing and figuring out what a sweet spot might be. And we'll talk about that at some point, but just for grins and giggles, let's say we want to do black and white, and I'm going to leave all the other numbers the same: page count, list price, whatever. So now black and white instead of color, we're rocking $15 and change for a royalty. That ain't bad. Printing is only $8, and the minimum list price for them is $13.65. And so for a 224 page book, even black and white, very easy for us to justify, a higher list price. So that's kind of cool. But the fact that they have hardcover books now, and that we can go black ink or full color on a premium stock, is a big deal. I mean, it's been years that they, and they haven't offered this. So the fact that they finally got their heads out of their behind and made this happen is kind of awesome. Yeah, and you're right, Vicky. You could have black and white illustrations for sure. They don't do dust covers, at least not currently. There are companies that you can use to get dust covers printed and put them on yourself. Ingram Spark offers that as an option. It does raise the price because it's a manual kind of thing, but currently they don't offer dust covers. That may change in the future. We'll see. I kind of don't expect it to, but you never know. Now, one thing that is kind of amazing to me is that their turnaround times should be very similar to paperback, which is about, these days, regardless of what they claim, real world these days is about 3 days. Because I've ordered a couple print on demand books lately from Amazon on purpose, just to see what their turnarounds are, and that's about what they're averaging, is about 3 days. And these were big books; they were like 8 1/4 by 11. So I'm suspicious that that's what it's going to be. But having said that, that's kind of a big deal. I mean, used to be, I ran a printing company. I know what it takes to produce full color books. And I've also worked with some of the largest full color book printers in the nation. I've been in their facilities and all of that. I know what it takes. And so to be able to do this one off without the ridiculous cost for setup and all of that, this is a huge deal. It really is. Carolyn, you can put anything you want on the cover, just like a regular paperback. You know, it's not like the old library style hardcover books. They have dust jackets, and all that you see is like the title of the book gold stamped onto it. It's nothing like that. It's a printed material that they wrap around it's kind of like a, I don't want to say cardboard because it's not like that, but it's a type of board, paper board that they wrap the covers around and glue them. And so the setup for the hardcover really isn't that much more than a paperback. And what's cool is they had enough foresight to think about, well, what if existing authors, published authors, have paperbacks that they want to create hardback versions? So they've already answered that process. It does require outputting the cover, you know, configuring it differently because the bleeds and the spine and all of that are different than what they would be for paperback. But they have a plan for that, which is kind of cool. So what I decided to do, I've spent a fair amount of time digging around in this just to see how they're handling it. And I was really impressed with all of the tools that they've put in place to make this process and or transition as easy as possible. And it's pretty impressive. So that's why what I decided to do was I mentioned earlier about creating a new course, Hardcover Publishing Secrets. It's going to begin on Monday and go for 3 weeks. I'm teaching it live. And in Module 1, we're going to break down Kdb Print's entire process. We're going to create actual designs so you can see how to work with the templates and how to generate the templates and all of that process. We're going to go through it step by step so you can see exactly how it works. And then, and if you already have existing books, how to convert them over to hardback or hardcover. In Module 2, we're going to look at other on-demand hardcover options because Kdb Print isn't the only game in town. You know, we have Ingram Spark, I mentioned earlier, but there are also others. And then in Module 3, we're going to look at small run printers, which are popping up all over the place. I was really shocked as I was researching this, where there's printers where you can buy like 25 to 100 copies of your book, and the prices are really, really reasonable. And so they're not on demand. So, you know, they're not going to auto list to Amazon like Kdb Print does. But there's going to be a lot of cases where maybe you want to create your own book, sell it through other outlets like Shopify or Etsy or whatever, or maybe you need them in quantity for a signing event, or maybe you're an artist and you want to do full color books and you're doing the Comic-Con circuit. There's so many different ways to justify, and going with short run printers is cheaper than using on-demand printers. So we are going to dig into all of that. And also as a bonus, which is already in the members area, a little while back, I taught a video training that breaks down publishing checklists. So it takes you through the entire process that you need to go through for creating your interior, for creating your cover, and all the things that you need to be thinking about. Okay. And that's already in the members area. So if you go to bookdesignmastery.com/hardcover, This is what you'll find. And I decided to keep the price low on this just because. So it's only 47 bucks. But this is the class schedule, October 11th, 18th, and 25th. And I'm going to post the link in the comments area just so you have it. It may not show up as a link, but anyway, like a clickable link. I'll be mailing on this, obviously. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out, okay, I'm experimenting, and one of the problems that I have had with customers purchasing courses is instead of using their email that they log in with on Expert Media Hub, they use some other email. Maybe it's one attached to PayPal or something else. It happens a lot. Okay. And it's because of how the order form that I've been using works. So I'm using a different order form option within Infusionsoft, and I want to show it to you real quick because it's different, and I don't want you to be surprised going, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? Because it looks different. So if you click on the link, let's say you're like, yes, I'm in, boom. So you'll notice that the order form is very simplified, okay, compared to the one that I normally use. And we only need one of these. Not sure why it said two, unless from my testing. So 47 bucks. Always make sure you're only buying one and that the total is correct. First things first. So once you're ready, then you just click checkout. Now, check this out. So when you check out, if you're an existing customer, you enter in the username and password that you use for Expert Media Hub. So in other words, you have to log in first, which is a big deal. If you're a brand new customer and you never bought from me before, then you can enter in your own username, email address, password, the whole 9 yards, and click register. So just to kind of show you the next step, I have my friend Spider, longtime friend. I have his information loaded up in here. And so I'm going to log in as him. And so this is the final page. Click the terms and conditions, choose your credit card number or PayPal. If you choose a credit card, you enter in the card number information, the expiration date, CVC, or PayPal. It'll have you log in. And then once you've entered in that information, you hit review the order. You make sure that it's correct and then place the order. And you will be taken to a thank you page. In about 5 minutes, which is what it's always been, you will receive the same email confirmation that you always receive that has your login information, has thank you for your purchase, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so hopefully this simplified ordering system, this is the first time I'm really testing it, the first course that I'm testing it on. Hopefully this will solve a lot of problems. Okay. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see. On the other order system that I was using through Infusionsoft, the only thing that I don't currently have control over is on the other order system, I can limit the system to ensure that you only buy one copy of the program. We actually had somebody a couple years ago when we were using this system here. Well, we weren't limiting quantity on purpose. And somebody thought that the quantity was where they entered their area code and bought like 500 copies of one of Kristen's courses. Like, first of all, pay attention to what you're doing. You're spending your money. So please pay attention. But we had to, go in and refund all of those copies except for one, which is a pain. So anyways, very simple and straightforward. Hopefully it'll work. I've already tested it and it worked flawlessly. So my hope is that that'll be your experience as well. Fingers crossed. So that's all I have for tonight. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Thank you, Thomas. It's good to see you here tonight, by the way. I love doing the live webinars. It was hard for me whenever we were sick to not be teaching. And, honestly, it's amazing how you take things for granted, right? And so it just never occurred to me, even though I earned my living by teaching all of you guys how to do cool things and all of that, it never occurred to me that like pneumonia, which affects your lung capacity, could take me out. Like it just never occurred to me. And yeah, I'm pretty much 100% Val, which is awesome. Some people haven't been so lucky. And so whenever my oxygen levels started dropping and I had to go to the doctors and all that kind of stuff, it freaked me out because for the first time, I'm like, I can't do my job. So the good news is that, every single day I saw improvement, which was great. And, we're definitely back to 100% now. And I'm extremely grateful for that. I haven't, Tom, to answer your question, but I do have it on my list. So chances are highly likely that probably first quarter of next year, I'm going to teach on that. Because I haven't forgotten about it. I haven't given up on it. I've already started experimenting with it again just to get my brain refreshed with the software. Yeah, you're right, Lori. We're coming up. I told Kristen, I think it's next Tuesday. Next Tuesday will be 4 months for us now for being vegan, which I think had a lot to do with our recovery and all of that. I mean, who would have thought you could actually use food as medicine, rather than just stuffing ourselves with crap and creating all kinds of issues in our body because of inflammation. I mean, I'm a dairy person. I love cheese, but taking dairy out of the equation and meat out of the equation, the change in inflammation in my body, which is pretty much zero now, was significant enough to get my attention. And so, yeah. Ganti, I don't mind you asking questions. I'm always up for questions. And thank you for the purchase earlier. I saw, Loretta, that you jumped in, and I appreciate that. So Ganti, as far as yearly buyout for 2022 courses, I think last year I promoted that in November, the beginning of December. I think it was toward the end of November. I haven't decided 100% yet if I'm going to do that this year for next year. I just haven't decided yet. I probably will, but I'm still thinking about it. We're still talking about it. So, anywho, anybody else have any other questions or comments? Yeah, you're right, Lori. Food is medicine, and more than we realize. Yeah, I'm not sure why that would be, Thomas, if it is indeed in the public domain. Why they limit posting on Facebook. I mean, honestly, if you could figure out why the hell Facebook does anything that they do, you'd be a certified genius. You'd probably win a reward or something, like a Rhodes Scholar or something. If you could figure out the method to their madness, my word, how long or how far would we go in life if we could figure out that? But I don't know. I mean, one thing that you could try is to just change it up a little bit. Like, I mean, I don't know what kind of images you're talking about, but um, as an example, there's a lot of great photo to art software that I've talked about in the past. You could run it through something like that and then post it. And maybe that would be enough to get it through. You could try cropping it so that it isn't the full image or just part of it. I mean, there's a couple different things you could try to kind of game the system because it doesn't make sense. Okay, so historical city pictures. Yeah, I would experiment with changing them up slightly, like photo to art software or uh, the a neural style stuff where you take thank you, Val. uh, you know, like Prisma is a really good example where you can apply the style of another image onto your image. So it just changes it a little. Um, I haven't posted public domain pictures from the Library of Congress, but I have posted public domain pictures from other sources and I haven't had any problems. It's probably, I don't know, it could be a bot that they're using. Um, it could be a 20 something with pink hair. Who the hell knows? Um, you know, they don't even realize they are historical city pictures. Uh, you know, Facebook, Instagram, it's anybody's guess how they make the decisions they make. So, which is one of the reasons why I'm working toward getting away from the platforms. All right. Any other comments or questions before we wrap this up? We're a little bit over the hour, but not too bad. Yeah, that's a good idea, Marjorie. You could also experiment with different sizes. Um, it's a good question, Ganty. I'm not sure. Expert Media Hub. You asked about that yesterday, so let's just take a quick look. So that would probably be under illustration, I would guess. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. Um, right here, photo composite illustrations. That should be it. Yeah, pretty sure this is it. Yeah, they are long courses or long videos, 2.5 hours, 2 hours. Oh, hour and 38. I guess I was slacking there. Yeah, that's it. Photo composite illustrations. And then there's also um, a bonus series in here on photo compositing. So that's the one you want. I think the sales page should still be live. It's not that old of a training. Yeah, here it shows like some of the combinations that I've put together. So anyway, that is the one. I am too, Vicky. I think it's going to be a good training. I always get excited about this stuff. Believe it or not, yeah, it's from 2019, Ganti. There are some courses that initially I'm excited about, and then as I start to develop them, I'm not anymore. And so you guys never hear about them. Courses that I even have sales pages for, slides done, everything, and then I just don't teach them because just something about it that isn't sitting right with me, and so I move on. I believe so, Suzanne. Yeah, I think, yeah, because these are some of the composites that I've done with my grandkids, and I'm getting ready to start the 2021 illustrations. They've all given me their list now. They're on to me. So my daughters are planning ahead of time. I mean, you know, we're in October now, but I got all the information from them in September. I didn't even ask. They're like, hey, if you're doing the illustrations again this year, here's what Charlie Bear wants to be, and here's what Lily wants to be. And my other daughter, same thing. Maya wants to be this year. So, because last year I did a book of them and prints, but this year I'm just doing prints again. It's on Photoshop, Ganti, but the methodology would work equally as well on Affinity Photo. Yeah, they are smart daughters. I mean, it only took them 6 years to catch on, so, or 5 years. Because I guess I've been doing them since 2016, according to the sales page here. This is the first ones that I did. So, yeah, the book last year really turned out cute. Really turned out very cool looking. Yeah, I've done, you know, hey, here's an idea, Thomas. Something that I love history and historical images and all that kind of stuff. Love it. And so one of the towns, it's about 2 hours from us, but still in Pennsylvania, called Lancaster, PA. Very cool old district and museums and everything. But I came across a series of old photographs of their market. It's kind of like a farmer's market type of thing. And so I decided that I was going to try to reproduce those photos as exactly as possible, which turned out to be a little more challenging than I thought, mostly because today's lenses image things different than the lenses that we would have used years ago, like on a view camera or something like that. So I ended up having to literally stand in the middle of the street with traffic coming and stop the traffic while I'm taking the photos. But anyway, so then what I did was I did a composite of sorts where I lined up the photos and then had like part of the photo being the old blending into part of the photo being new. So that makes the photo completely unique. It isn't just a picture from the Library of Congress, because now you've added something new, a new element into it. So you could maybe, if it's possible, to experiment even with something like that. That could be kind of cool. But that just popped into mind, the pictures that I had done in Lancaster. So just a thought. Yeah, definitely keep us up to date, what you discover with all that. So that's all that I have, folks. We're going to wrap things up. Thank you for joining me here. Next week, there's not going to be any updates or anything like that. We'll just get into some teaching. I have no idea what, but we'll find out. We'll figure it out. But until then, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And for those of you who are going to join me for the hardcover publishing secrets training, next Monday, we're going to get started with that. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So until then, I will talk to you again soon.